welcome back. This is part 2 of our little mini series on how to study. And last video, we talked about how summarizing, rereading, and highlighting are the most popular ways to study, but that they are the least effective, according to science. And I'm going to put some links down at the bottom if you want to read the studies. And the reason is because they're passive. So rereading is putting information in, summarizing is putting information in, highlighting is just highlighting, but it's putting information in. And what we're not practicing is pulling the information back out. And that's why they don't work well. Active recall is exactly the opposite. What we're practicing is putting the information in and then practicing to pull it out. So let's look at 3 levels of active recall. Level 1, I'll call this 101, is simply reading a passage, closing the book, and then just recalling what you can from that passage. So you're practicing pulling it out. So this is now active, it's not passive. The next level, level 201, would be where you read a passage, close the book, pull it out, and then you recognize that there are spots in there that you were unclear on or you couldn't quite remember at all. So you would reread that section, then you close it, pull it out, and now what you've done is you've pulled out the easy stuff once, you've gone through and filled in the gaps of the stuff you didn't get the first time, and so you pull that out a second time, and now you've gone through and you've really done a good job of recalling that information. So that's levels 1 and 2, and that would be, I think, sufficient for things like a quiz where it's not going to take a whole lot of study and there's not a lot involved. The third one is the most effective, and it is the most effective by far. And what it is it's creating your own practice test. Let me explain what it is for, say, something simple from literature, and then I'll explain why this is actually going to save you time, even though it looks like it's going to take you more time. So The Grinch Who Stole Christmas is your reading assignment. You know there's going to be a test on it, and so you start reading, and you find out that the protagonist is the Grinch. He's the main character. So you write in your practice test, who's the main character? The Grinch. What does the Grinch hate? He hates Christmas. Why does he hate Christmas? Because of the noise. Who does he meet that almost ruins his plans? Little Cindy Lou Who, right? So as we're going through, we're going to write down the stuff that we know we're going to get asked later. So does this sound like a lot of work? It kind of does. But if you compare it to rereading and then writing notes, and then summarizing, and then highlighting, and then rereading and summarizing and highlighting more, simply writing down your practice test questions as you're reading it while that information's fresh is going to save you a ton of time, and it's going to be way more effective. In other areas, say for Latin, if you had the word terra, which means land, and they say, how would you decline that word? You know that's going to be on the test. If you studied the word terra, you know you're going to have to do the declinations for it. So you would write that in your practice test. Algebra, you know they're going to ask you what is the associative law? What is the distributive law, right? You know they're going to ask that. So as soon as you come across it, you write out your practice test. So while you're learning the material, you're also creating your practice test as you go. And if you do this, your grades are going to go way up because this is a much more effective way to study than highlighting, rereading, and summarizing. Now, in the next video, we're going to add one more concept to this, and that's called spaced repetition. And so when you take active recall and then you add spaced repetition, these two fit perfectly together, and it's going to change your life. Your grades are going to go up, and your effort is going to go down. It's going to be awesome. So we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.